Hi guys, and welcome back to Gymming and Fibre. This is the October episode of Gymming and Fibre. I completely forget what number I'm at because of course this is the second time of recording, so this episode is now going to be called Holy Doughnuts Batman because it was so frustrating. I recorded for about an hour earlier, just under, went through everything apart from adding in the sort of additional things that I'd hoped to add, and picture, beautiful, shots, fantastic, sound, none. So, recording again. I've got with me today Puppy. She's not doing so well today. Well, neither of us are doing so well today. I'm not sure what's up with her. She seemed to have a bit of an upset stomach. Up 3 times during the night and then again today. And myself, I think I'm just suffering because I'm slowly getting back to hand dyeing, which I'll speak a bit more about in a minute. And of course, you know, I'm sort of aching and in pain because I've not overdone it, but you know, obviously when you first go back to it, it's only then that you realise quite how far out of condition you are, just having 3 months away from it all. So I will try and go through everything as I did before. I'm a little bit discombobulated, everything's sort of around me because I had kind of piled it up as I was talking earlier. So I'm hoping that this will, excuse the rustling, I've got a nosy dog. Come out of the way, baby. We'll kind of get back to the show that it should be, and let's get started, let's get on top of things. Month in review. What did I do September? September I had a couple of shows. I was at the Torquay Embroiderers Guild. I was there for a couple of days while they had their annual exhibition. It was a lovely little show. There was plenty to see, lots of inspiration. Made me definitely want to get my sewing machine and my embellisher out again and get cracking on some more textile arts rather than just knitting, just felting and weaving and spinning and so on that I do. So we might see a bit more of that kind of thing in works in progress. I've certainly bought a couple of things which I talk about in my sort of stash enhancement section. So you'll see the kind of things that hopefully I'll be working on quite soon. So thank you to those ladies for inviting me. As I say, it was a nice show. It was also nice to meet Sandy, who is one of the owners of the Brixham Sewing Box shop, which I think you can find in Market Street in Brixham, just as you go down towards the quay. Great little shop. I went there last week to have a look around, and she has a fabulous offer. So if you're in that way, do pop in and say hi to Sandy for me. The other show I did was, it was not really a show, it was a pop-up shop, the Ted Burns St Mary's Spinning Group. They are an offshoot of the Devon Weavers, Spinners and Dyers Guild, and they meet, I think it's once a month or twice a month, I can't remember now, but they meet locally, and there's quite a few of them actually, so that was quite inspiring to be around people, you know, lots of people who are spinning and knitting, because of course everybody's take on spinning and knitting and how they choose to use colour and fibre and texture is completely different. So that was really great to get chatting to those ladies, and I certainly look forward to going again. So thank you guys for having me. I really do appreciate that. That was it for shows. This month, as I mentioned earlier, I got back to dyeing. In the fibre sense of the word. So I've been dyeing up a couple of new colourways for the shop, and I will talk about that a little bit more in the shop update. But just a general announcement about hand dyeing. I, in my mind, after having 3 months off, I'd hoped to sort of get more of my colours up and be able to offer custom listings and that pretty much straight away. Of course that was completely not feasible, and I know that I would certainly pay at even trying to attempt to do that. The little that I've done so far has been hard work, So what I've decided to do, rather than just putting stuff out there for sake of getting stuff out there, is I want to concentrate on maintaining my quality level. So you will get quality product rather than huge quantities, and gradually we will work up. So I'm expecting the custom listing to go back on the site in around January. I think that's a reasonable time frame. If I can do it sooner, I will, but obviously, you know, you need to bear in mind that, you know, it's going to take me a while to get back up to sort of full capacity. I have also decided for now that I will work on just a few colours in each update, so I will try and do some kind of a collection, so encompassing different fibres, different bases, and also yarns as well. So there'll be a lot more interest almost straight away in each update, but they will be colour limited. So, I mean, you guys know me, if you bear with me, the fruits of my labour will bear out in the end, and we shall get there and be back on the ball as we were not so long ago. The other thing, it's been a bit of a crazy week here. Today particularly crazy. I'm probably looking a bit bejuggled because I'm soaked head to toe, just taking the dog for a walk because the weather has really changed. It's very autumnal and very wet here. So apart from not feeling too great and being frustrated as in, you know, having done this podcast once already, I'm probably looking a bit bejuggled, so sorry guys. I will return to normal at some point, I'm sure. The other kind of crazy things that happened this week was it's gotten crazy busy on the website just with orders of other products, so thank you for coming and buying me out of stuff. I'm getting new deliveries all the time of main stock and equipment and that kind of thing, so if something isn't in stock, I will try and fulfil that order as soon as possible. Obviously I'll be in touch and talk you through the details of your order at the time of order. Also, and it's kind of crazy, there are several shops in Crediton High Street that are empty, and I saw one in particular that I really fancied having a look around, with the idea that, you know, Sara's Texture Crafts could become an arts and crafts centre. In my mind, fully doable. So we booked an appointment and I went to have a look at this shop. If anyone knows the High Street, it was Phillips that used to be the stationers. Huge, lovely space. The shop that's actually up for rent now is not going to be that big. They are doing several other developments within the building, but it would still be big enough for Sara's Texture Crafts. Had a look round, loved the size, loved the space. My only issue was the only area for dyeing would be downstairs, and that was particularly damp, so I wasn't very keen on that. So that was a big turn off. And then the other thing was, you know, actually when I came to sort of pricing up all the fixtures and fittings for a space that large, it was slightly beyond my means at this moment in time. So it's a shame, because it would be the ideal space, of course, because I offer so much on the website. To have a shop that only sort of houses part of that without housing, sit and try wheels and looms and so on. Where have you been? I was just come to bring me her toy. Feeling a bit better? Are you feeling a bit better? Do you want to come say hello? Come on. Come say hello. Up here. Come on. Hello! I don't know if you can see that. You can certainly hear her, the tail whacking boxes. Hello! You feeling a bit better? Oh, good girl. Okay, I can't play with that. You can sit down there. Good girl. So it ended up being a no, but it was certainly very interesting exploring the concept, and I certainly think I have a lot of ideas of how I want to go with that. workshops, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, and as I say, having a shop that would be smaller than that particular area, I don't think would do what I offer on the website justice particularly. And of course the other problem is if it's smaller, will they have the backroom space for me to be able to dye fibres and yarn on site? Because obviously if I move into a shop area, I need to move the whole process, so I need to move everything out to the one location. Also toyed with the idea of studio space, and I talked to a number of people about this who've sent me in different directions to have a look at things. Again, my current problem is being able to do my dye work on site. There needs to be adequate ventilation so that I'm obviously not hurting or harming myself, but I'm not annoying or upsetting any neighbours that I may have. So it's a bit of a difficult one in Crediton and also in Exeter area, but if I do find something, then that's certainly something that I'm thinking about. I know that I mentioned back along in, I think it was January when I talked about it, January or December, when I talked about the smaller space that was available in Crediton. So I don't know, it's a massive, massive step, and it will certainly mean that I'll have to go and speak to the bank if I do go that route. But I know that I've got a number of local customers, and it makes sense for them to be able to pop in and see the stuff rather than buying from the website, so they get the the look and the feel of the product. So toying with the idea, but that's kind of a little bit strange to me because it's so far removed from working at home, and feels like such a larger scale business than I currently am, that it's kind of frightening and exciting and all of that stuff. So lots to think about, and that's kind of my month in review. I'm going to quickly go through the shop update. As I said previously, there's not a huge amount to show you, so I'm going to lean out of screen a little bit just so that I can talk through some of that stuff with you. Before I start showing you stuff, there are a couple of things that I do want to mention that I haven't got available for you to see right now. First of all is the back club. The new back club will go up on Friday. I am hoping, all being well, that I will be able to card that this afternoon or tomorrow so I can photograph it for upload on Friday. I'm going to start to do the shop updates differently. Rather than having one mass update on a particular day a month, I'm going to just filter things through as they come, because it makes sense financially not to be sort of waiting for a month to upload stuff, but instead list it as it comes in, so hopefully it will go out. So hopefully when you come in from week to week there will be something new, so check out the Just Arrived section at sarastexturecrafts.com, and you'll be able to see what's newly arrived, and as I say, I'll update that as and when really, and that will also work with all the hand-dyed stuff. The other thing to mention to you is I'm having a fleece sale. It's going to be just a quick 1 week sale from the 4th of October to the 11th of October, so that's Friday to Friday. It's going to be 40% off of my remaining fleece. You can buy a small amount as 10 grams and go up to a full kilo or more, depending on what you want and what there is available. I have plenty of fleece left in varying breeds even, so come and check that out. That will be your last chance to buy fleece this year. What I've decided to do with fleece in the future is make that a very seasonal product. So the season will start typically from June and end in October. By the end of October, what I don't keep for dyeing will go off to the mill to be processed into tops, and that will then come back onto the site sort of January, February time once I get that back from the mill. So let's have a look at what we've got. Okay, as I say, I'm going to lean out of shot here. It's not looking like much, but I have multiple of each item. So, because I'm a bit wet still, let me set that down. The first one is Indian Summer. Now you will find Indian Summer on the website in varying forms. There is a general fibre listing which has 2 swatches on. Those swatches I explain, and I guess I should probably mention at the same time here, one of my works in progress, which is swatching. You can see here, if I show you these 2, this is the same fibre spun into singles, and then this second one is plied in a basic 2-ply. So this is a single, so you can see that the colour will gradiate and form these sort of gradiating stripes as you go up. If you ply that against itself, you might get an essence of striping, but it will be much more mild. I explain the swatches that I've given within each listing, so if you wanted to recreate you can, but of course that doesn't mean you're limited to just that. So for example, if you bought this, which is Polworth, you could ply it against a semi-solid shade, you could ply it against itself, you could ply it against an embroidery thread or a natural colour, or any of those things. So I've just purely put those swatches there to give you, or to give maybe newer spinners, a bit more of an idea of what fibre braids might look like once they're sampled up into certain things. I'm trying also to get on each of these listings a finished product. Now that might not happen straight away, but at some point in the future, and certainly for this one, I have to thank Alexandra, one of my customers and Ravelry group members, who knitted a pair of socks in Indian Summer for her mum and graciously gave me the photograph so that I could use that on the website. So that gives you an indication of what it might look like knit up into socks. But of course, there's no reason why you couldn't do a shawl, a jumper, a kid's sweater, a cuddly toy, any of those kind of things. The examples I'm giving are just one example of the many things that you could do. I thought that would be a bit more helpful. You'll also notice on the website that I'm doing a listing that I'm calling White Space. Now, I'll show you a bit more about that in a minute when I show you one of the other colourways. But that's going to be another offer. It's not going to be a continual offer, but because it has the white space, obviously it won't knit up as the swatches I've swatched, so it remains a separate listing from the sort of bulk fibre listing, if you like. So when you go onto the website, you're now looking for Indian Summer as a colour, and under there you'll get the available fibres that are in that colourway currently. So I think I've got Blueface Leicester, Polworth, and I think Merino Superwash at the moment. Of course, as I progress, that will extend, and there will be blend offers and so on. I've also dyed this up in silk, on mooca silk hankies, and I did some walnuts as well. So you're getting much more of a feel of one colour in a shop update. I also have yarn in that one as well, so I've got my sock base here, which is my Superwash BFL 20% nylon. It's a high twist sock base. So although it's not merino and nylon or alpaca and nylon, Blueface Leicester with its long staple is great for sock knitting. But that high twist makes sure that it's just that little extra bit hard wearing. So this will knit up as a variegated yarn, and obviously you'll get these wonderful colours of purples, pinks and yellows. Okay, so that's Indian Summer on my sock. And then I have Indian Summer on Romney silk. This is Romney Marsh fleece, spun against 30% silk. It's slightly crunchy to feel, so it's not like a Blueface Leicester or a merino in that sense. It probably feels a bit more like a Shetland or something like that. Takes the colour lovely. As you can see, it's a much more subtle approach to the sock yarn in its colour absorption. But I think that's going to be lovely for hats, cows, jumpers, cardies and so on. The other thing to say at the moment is I am doing just one pot of yarns per colour. So there will be 2 of this and 2 of this available. If you want more at the moment, because I'm not doing that custom listings, I will put it back on my list of things to do, but it might not appear in the shop straight away. If I could change that, if I knew I would be well enough to start sort of ramping up my production a bit more, then obviously I will come back to you and offer that. So don't forget that when you go onto the website under the relevant listing, if it's out of stock, pop in your email. As soon as it's back in stock, you'll get an email alert. So you don't have to wait and watch the podcast or get the monthly newsletter. You can go straight, you'll get an email alert as soon as it comes back into stock. So that's that one. Then I did Colour Lightning, which is a colour from, I think I showed you this last week actually, I showed you on Polworth, and actually this will give you, and sorry for getting a bit of camera wobble there, but this will show you the difference in, if we start with Fibre first. I've done BFL for the shop, and I'm also going to have a little bit of that on Etsy. I've not done any other fibre bases in this colour because I dyed 2 colours this week. So that's it on BFL, and just to give you an indication how different fibres take up the colour differently, this is Polworth. So you can see this is, because Polworth is a very white base by comparison, it picks up those colours in a much brighter, fresher feel, whereas the Blueface Leicester is naturally much more creamy. So it also is a bit more lustrous, so it gives, even though the colour's intense, it gives a very different look. So that's also something to think about when you're spinning. You want to make sure that you understand the fibres you're using, and therefore what you might want to apply against it. So for this would look great applied against a natural Shetland or something like this, as with this, but this might also look great against a commercially coloured merino, whereas this might look a bit less, it might look a bit more muddy by comparison, even though the colours are still quite vibrant. If you've got any questions, you know, you can always email me and ask me. When I can, I will be doing more semi-solid colours, so you'll have a lot more choice as sort of plied bodies, if you like. So that's that on Fibre, and then I've got that on my sock base as well. So this is again the superwash sock base, and you can see that's come up quite lovely. It's come up almost very similar in its sort of darkish tones as the Blueface Leicester Fibre does. I would expect if I dyed this on a merino base to get a much brighter feel. But this is going to make a really lovely pair of socks. It would equally make a really nice hitchhiker if you fancy doing something like that. So that's Colour Lightning. Again, there will be 2 skeins of that on the website. And then the last colour is Dartmouth. Now I dyed this as a white space option for Fibre Club. I think it was the last Fibre Club. So this is my braid. So you can see what it looks with white space, and you can see what it looks like as an almost solid there on Blueface Leicester. Again, this is merino superwash, so the colours come up slightly more crisp and saturate, whereas this is slightly more subtle, but again vibrant in its own way. Again, there will be 2 braids of Blueface Leicester on the website and 2 braids on Etsy. I think this would look really great plied against a semi-solid colour, or against maybe a grey. And I'm thinking possibly a Jacob grey, because Jacob grey is slightly more warm than a Shetland grey. Shetland grey tends to be a little bit more blue tone, and Jacob is a slightly more red tone grey. It's a lovely colour. So I do hope that you will try it. So those are the hand dyes. What else did I have? Looking down here. Oh, I've got some blends. Wanted to talk to you about blends. You may remember this if you shop on the website. This is my Shetland Humbug. So it's a natural carded against a mooret colourway, and it gives you the stripe effect, which reminds us of those humbug sweets that we used to eat. I have decided that I wanted a few more of those in the shop, so I've gone for some sort of higher end blend options. So I've got one with a blue face Leicester and alpaca, and one with a blue face Leicester and Manslochton. They are both beautiful to work with. They're going to be good for felting, but I'm really aiming this more at my spinners, purely because I'm finding the majority of my customers now are actually spinners more over felters. So I'm not going to be ignoring the felt makers. There's going to be plenty, and there certainly is plenty on the website for felt makers. But to make sure that I have a wider offer of product, both my bread and butter basics and the slightly higher end, more sort of boutique-y, occasional purchases, I'm going to have some luxury blends. So I'm starting off with those, but I do have in mind things like blends with cashmere and so on, so keep an eye out for those. Where I can, I will do them as natural, so that you can dye them in your own colours, or just enjoy the natural shades because they truly are beautiful. Or I may go and over dye some myself. If I do, they will be offered under the colourways again on those listings that we talked about earlier. So that's really it for the shop update. I'm calling it a shop update, but I think, as I said before, I'm definitely going to change that to more of a shop roundup, just to give you a sort of shop roundup of the month, just because I'll be listing sporadically throughout the month rather than in one hit. Also to mention, do join the newsletter if you haven't already. There are certain offers and coupons that you are entitled to as a newsletter member that people don't get anywhere else. If you're watching this just as a podcast viewer, then do pop over to sarastexturecrafts.com and click on the link to sign up for the monthly newsletter. It's very, very rare that I post more than once a month, but when I do post, it will be a link back to the podcast for sort of general news, and then there will be other interesting bits and pieces or products of highlight. We're very soft on the advertising by comparison to other newsletters, I think. Events for October. I've got the Woolly Weekend coming up, which is, I do believe, the 12th and 13th of October. I'll double check that and pop that down here. And you can find the links to that event in the show notes for the podcast, which is dreaminfibre.blogspot.com. I'm looking forward to that one. That should be quite a nice event. I did it last year. I had enough space for almost 2 tables, I think, last year. This year we are being restricted to 1 table just because they want to sort of broaden the offer there, which is fine. So there'll be less in terms of variety from me, but what I do there will be plenty of. So if you need anything specific and you want to pop along, then do please contact me about a week before and give me your orders. We can go through payment systems and all of that kind of thing, and I can make sure that I bring that order with me. And the same goes if you are a member of the Embroiderers Guild, which is my final show for October, which is, I think that's on the 28th, and that's their annual general meeting. So that, if you're not a member, I'm afraid that's a closed meeting. So I think I have space for 1 table or 2 tables. Last year I got quite a nice position, so was able to have space to show a little bit more. So we'll see how that goes this year. If I can get that same spot, then I will try and bring as much as I can. And I'm trying also this year to do a bit more that will be specifically tiered towards crafts that the Embroiderers Guild cover. So check that out. If I get a chance to do some of the things that I want to do, then those new products will also be on the website after that show. So probably I will talk about those in the next podcast. I wanted to also go through customers' work today. I don't have images on the blog of sort of finished products and that, so what I thought we'd do is go through the Ravelry group and have a look at the Tour de Fleece thread. So I will insert a video in a moment that will talk through that. Just want to thank everyone for being involved. It was a fantastic sale cow, and it really wouldn't have been the same if you guys hadn't joined in and, you know, chatted as much as you did. It was fantastic, and I really enjoyed getting to grips with that and you know, spinning along with friends. Really, it was much needed release for me, and very grateful for it. So I'm going to insert that video here. Okay, so here we are on Ravelry looking at the Tour de Fleece thread. I've just quickly sort of formulated it so that we're just looking at the images here rather than the whole thread, because I don't think you need to see all of the sort of conversation that's gone on. But you can get an idea here of some of the fibres that people were using and so on. Quite a lot of people were using my fibre, so this is colour tourmaline that Alex was later going to spin. Here is really quite a nice selection of different fibres that Ms Mongoose was going to spin. We've got some of my fibre here. I can't remember if these were mine as well. Quite possibly were mine in the natural shades. Tabs from Rosy Retro was going to spin some of my Indian Summer and some of another fibre that she had. You can see they were getting very excited there. Miss Mongoose posting a picture of a racehorse. This is Elaine. She was working with My Colour Lightning, so she'd done some sampling. The light on this isn't particularly great, not on her photograph, but actually on the video that I'm taking here. So probably best to pop along to the group at Sara's Texture Crafts on Ravelry, and you can see for yourself because they've taken some much better pictures. You can see here people have gone on to show process photos. Another Indian Summer bump there being spun by Muriel. And this one, I'm not sure where this one is from, but some quite nice colour gradation here, along here, with little pops of colour. This is some of my merino and silk blend in Strawberry Sundae. That turned out really nicely. This here is some of the fleece from possibly from Fleece Club, I can't remember, or it might have been a purchase that she made separate to that. That was really nice to see fleece on the wheel as well. Here is Pia spinning. These were some of my carded bats that were made from Clin wool that I stocked a few years ago now, and she's been she loves spinning them so much that she sort of bought the rest really and nestled them away, so it's quite nice to see them coming out. Here you can see some of that Strawberry Sundae being spun up. I have to say, Snoop Trigger's spinning on the spindle is just absolutely amazing, so fine, it's really beautiful. Alex is working on her tourmaline. It's really nice that everybody really showed process. Elaine here is working on a blending board. She was helping her granddaughter spin some of the yarn. You can see some of the rolags that she made. This is from My Colour Dartmouth. This was the one I did for the Fibre Club that had white space in it. And as you can see, you don't have to spin it as I send it to you. You can of course process it into your own form. And what I love about this in particular is that, you know, you do get those very definite pops of colour along the length of the rolag, and that was really nice to see that. And how soft, how much softer that comes out as a spun yarn compared to spinning from the top. So that's also a consideration for a secondary ply. There's no reason why you couldn't card bats or rolags to ply against your original hand-dyed top. Here's Tabs processing some of her fibre onto the wheel. The Fluffy Viking was going to work with some of my colour Pansy. Yes, Pansy on Falkland, that was nice to see, because I haven't seen that one spun up for a while. Again, with some fleece, this is more Romney, which is lovely. Again, progression. Elaine was very good at not only sampling initially, but then showing stage by stage pictures, which is quite nice. This was my bountiful basket of spinning, completely over the top for what I was actually prepared for, because health not being with me, there was absolutely no way that I was going to be spinning masses. I ended up spinning just one amount of fibre on the spindle, but it was enough to make a hat from, which I'll show you in a bit later down the thread, so that was really nice. And I was quite happy to post sort of shots as I went on. Oh yes, this is some of that Dartmouth that Crossroad Demons was going to start working on. This colour, oh yeah, this was bought from somebody else, but Purple Zebra really wanted to spin it because it's got some really nice tencel in there, so that looked really interesting to spin, and I enjoyed looking out for that one. Again, some fleece, and nice process photos from everybody. It was really nice to see all of that. I decided to spin my hand dyed against some natural, just because I wanted a point of difference. It's really nice, as I say, seeing everybody's, just press next page, everybody's work. We'll wait for the pictures to load. You can see the spinning, and we're all very different spinners. We've got some beginner spinners, some people who like to spin chunky and more art yarns, some people who are slightly more accomplished who like to spin very fine, fantastic spindle spinning, as I said. Again, more fibre. As people were spinning, they were adding to it, and it was really nice to see all those different colours on the wheel. This was lightning. This was later plied against natural, I think, so that will be quite nice to show you. This one, oh, it is my merino and silk in colour Nightfall, so wow, look at that fine spinning. Ooh, I'm not quite that good. That's raspberry chocolate. Some more fleece being ready to be processed. Alex does do some lovely spinning, that's one thing I really look forward to looking for. She does do some lovely colourful spinning. This, I love the natural of this against all of the colour that everybody was doing. As you can see, everybody started spinning up their yarns and they were just looking fabulous. Pia had gone to the trouble of carding from some of my merino packs. That's quite nice. Again, more finished yarns. And it was quite nice that everybody was at different stages. You didn't at any point in time feel like you were desperately behind. You can see more process shots. Press the next page. Here we are in sort of the middle, where people are really getting on and getting those yarns out, and you can see that some people really got a lot of stuff done during the Tour de Fleece. I mean, it's a really nice sort of stash busting sow cow, if you like. It did kind of make me feel like my one spindle's worth of spinning was a little bit pathetic, but I think I can be forgiven this year. Last year I did spin a whole fleece, so that was my plied yarn. Alex with more yarn in different colours. This was my colourway Harvest on Falkland. Looking really fabulous, and just everybody was working on different stuff. Here is Miss Mongoose, and she's spinning my Tour de Fleece from, what was it, my Tour de Fleece from last year? No. Purple Zebra was spinning my Tour de Fleece prize from last year, which was the yellow jersey. This one is a really nice silk South Down nylon and cashmere-ish blend. So that was quite nice to see, and it came up really subtle. That's a really nice picture. Process shots. I love this one. Just, you know, coming towards the end of the tour, we were like, wow, you know, we've done so much. It was lovely. And that was my final yarn. That was the big bulk of it, and then I got 2 separate mini skeins. Well, this was my colour Dartmouth, which has been spun up. People had started spinning because the next stage then was to go from to spend the next month after Tour de Fleece in actually knitting something up. So rather than having something languishing in our stash, we would actually process that into a finished product. And here is my hat that I knit for Darren, which I think I showed you a couple of episodes ago. This was lightning, and it was plied against against a grey in the end, I think. No, this was actually the singles. I think maybe somebody else had plied against grey. This is great, this project. We'll see that. There we go in the end. Isn't he cute? And that's all just from the natural fleece that Miss Mongoose had spun. So absolutely amazing. It was Miss Mongoose, yes. Absolutely amazing. And I think she's rightfully chuffed with that. We've got some more knitting starting, which is great. Lots of things here. This is my colour Embers, rather, and then Dartmouth spun into socks. Wow, look at this. This is from the Romney fleece, just absolutely awesome. Some cute socks there. This is colour Lightning, spun up and knit into a shawl. Really envious of some of the projects here, really envious. And then on the final page, some more spinning. Some more knitting. And there we go. That's it. So that was Tour de Fleece for this year. There was lots more conversation. I think in the post altogether we had something like, I want to say 300 posts, so a really chatty bunch of people. So what I'd like to say is, if you do see a Sal cow, or even just a cow in my group, then please do come along and spend some time with us, because we would love to spend some time with you and talk about fibre, techniques, process, and just really enjoying each other's company. So let's get on with the rest of the podcast. And then finally, before we get to sort of works in progress and my stash enhancement, just wanted to talk about a couple of my blogs. So Crafts of Texture even, which is sarastexturecrafts.blogspot.com, is my kind of daily musings. I've given that a little bit of a revamp, so do pop over and check that out. I'm much more about trying to pursue my own joy of crafts, and I think that I want to make that come through on that blog a lot more. I do a lot of crafting behind the scenes, but for one reason or another I've always had work things to kind of talk about. And I kind of realised that actually, you know what, I have the newsletter, I have the news section on my website, and I also have this podcast to sort of air really important things. So yes, I will mention business on my sort of daily musings, but it'll be much more about my works in progress or things that inspire me. So I do hope you'll check that out. You can also catch that on Blog Loving if you have that as a blog reader. The second blog that's had a little bit of a revamp is my Learn About Wool website. That is sarastexturecrafts.wordpress.com. Basically, I've just sort of added a few new categories and so on. And I've sort of broadened my theme rather than all of the information coming from me. So, as in, you know, when a customer asks the questions, I might write a post about, I don't know, how do you use a whip gauge or so on. I wanted to extend it also into things that I've found on the internet, because there are so many people out there who have come up with great tutorials or videos on YouTube. There are also some really great resources, books, that kind of thing, that I thought it was really important to share that with you and to not sort of ignore it, because obviously I only have one pair of hands and so many hours in a day, so there's not a great deal I can do in terms of continually coming up with new content. And I also don't feel, if I come across somebody else who's done a fantastic job on a particular project or a particular area, that really I need to rewrite it and do my own version of. Instead, what I need to do is be linking to them and giving them kudos for their hard work. And it also helps you to find more great resources to check out. Okay, so works in progress and stash enhancement. Okay, I think I can do without my notepad for that. I think I just about remember what my name is. So I showed you the swatching earlier. That's been a real major thing this month. I've also been working on a few samples behind the scenes and a couple of products that I'm going to write up patterns for. So really pleased with the amount of work that I've got done, but also still there's a long way to go, because there is so much I want to do in terms of this whole updating the website and making it much more inspiring when you come to it. So I've not really had a huge amount of time for personal projects. So if you have been over on my Ravelry page, Sara's Texture Craft, you'll find that I've probably got a fair few works in progress, but from day to day things don't really change that much. There is something that I am working on which I'm quite pleased with at the moment, and that is a pair of socks. Yes, socks. She said socks. I kind of poo-pooed the whole idea of ever knitting socks. Probably about a year ago was when I gave my last attempt at sock knitting. I tried with double pointed needles, I tried with different yarns, I tried different size needles, I also tried with 2 circular needles. I never really got further than the rib. I just hated the idea. It seemed complicated and clumsy, and just working in that small area, although ribbing itself is particularly easy, it just seemed too small and too fiddly, and I was just thinking, really, do I care that much? So I kind of launched into other things. This month, I don't know what it was, but I just suddenly had a pang that I needed to knit myself some socks. So I picked up a yarn, and I'm showing you this. This is in my Rosy Retro project bag. You can find Rosy Retro on Etsy, and I also do some of her stitch markers on the website at sarastexturecrafts.com. So back to the socks. I found this yarn in my stash, and I bought it probably a couple of years ago from a lady I met on Doughnuts. I think she's quite a big deal in terms of the hand-dyed world in Germany, and she does some really, really lovely colourways. I think she might also be on Etsy now, but she certainly has her own website. I will put the link to her shop here, and then again in the show notes at dreamingandfibre.blogspot.com. She actually gifted me this yarn. I originally bought 2 yarns. If you remember the sock head hat that I knitted 3 or 4 episodes ago, something like that, I knitted with her yarn there, and I bought that yarn, and then I bought another yarn, but for whatever reason that other yarn wasn't in stock when I ordered it. So because she only ever does that colourway once, she doesn't do repeatables, or at least she didn't at that point in time. This may be completely different now. She offered me this as a secondary choice, which I accepted, and she ended up sending me this and giving me a refund, which is completely unnecessary but completely awesome at the same time. So I've kept it in my stash because, I'll be honest, I'm not a very orangey person. So this particular colour combination, I couldn't quite think of how to use it. I didn't want to use it in making a toy because I wanted it to be something that I you would use a lot, so something that I would wear ideally. And I couldn't think what to make, and I just kept looking at it and looking at it, and I felt particularly autumnal in September when the weather started to change, and so this and my Anne Bud getting to know sock knitting or something like that, or getting started in sock knitting, came out, and I grabbed my needles, and I'm very, very pleased to say that I have got quite far. Yay! Now you're looking at it and you're thinking, my God, Sarah, that's a Christmas stocking, that is huge. And yeah, you're right, it's far, far, far too big for me. I took all of my measurements, so I knew what size I was, and I did gauge. I took the gauge from my socket hat, because although I thought my gauge probably would have changed a little bit, because that was a few months ago now that I knitted that, I didn't think it would be a drastic change. So I cast on 64 stitches on my 3mm needles, and I already know that, looking back at it now, was completely wrong, but I wasn't feeling so well on the day, so I'm just like, I'll just go for it, just carry on and see, once I've got that far, how well it fits or it doesn't fit. So I got so far, and of course I'm looking at, and I already knew it was huge, absolutely huge, too big for me, because I've only got size 5 feet, so I'm tiny. Darren, my partner, is a size 10, so I got him to try these on. I'm not kidding you, they are still far too big for him. So I said to him, what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to gift these to you as bed socks. I'll probably keep them for his Christmas stocking or something like that. So I'm knitting socks. Wow! I can't believe it. I'm really enjoying the process so far. I didn't do the slip stitch heel method to give that rib. I understand why I would want to do it on a fitting pair of socks, purely because it does draw the heel in and will give you a much more fitted feel to those socks, and obviously that's a point on the sock where you really need it to be fitted if you're going to wear it with shoes. But I thought for bed socks that's fine, so I did that, turned the heel flap, that was fine, and I picked up for the gusset, that was fine. I did get the holes. Now I know everybody talks about that, and it's just purely a pick-up issue, and I'm wondering if, and please tell me if I'm wrong, if you're a sock knitter out there, help. But I'm wondering whether maybe what I could do is try and pick up an extra stitch somehow. I'm not entirely sure how I do that, but I think if I do that, and I can almost see where I do it, then that should give me less of a whole area there. It might always be a slightly more open area, but hopefully it will decrease the look of that hole. So yeah, I'm down the foot, and I'm hoping that I'll have by the next podcast at least one sock finished. It's not taking me that long, it's just that I have so many other things on the go at the moment. In the evenings I'm really in production knitting, really, swatches and samples and so on. So these aren't kind of priority knitting, I guess. But I should have them finished for Christmas, so I think they'll definitely be gifted. I don't foresee me having to give an IOU to Darren. So that's what I'm working on as a personal project. I'm really happy with that. The next one, sorry for the lean again, is my, well, it's not mine, it's a yarn loving mama is having a Sal cow on Ravelry, which is for the Age and Brass and Steam. So I started spinning for that. I only got this far. I haven't been able to get to my wheel because I've not really been feeling, though I've been physically able to actually sit and spin. So I've kind of left this for a while. So this is the first singles of my yarn, and I'm thinking that I won't need, once I've plied it with the second single that I need to do, I'm thinking this should be enough yardage to make the whole shawl. It's not a huge shawl, it's more of a kerchief. if you like. But yeah, I'm looking forward to starting knitting on that. This I'm spinning with my, you probably won't be able to see it because it's so dark, but this is my colourway mooca. It's actually a blend of blues. So it's, I would say, somewhere between a navy, elements of sort of slightly sort of teal in there, but very, very delicate. It's definitely a blue, and that's mixed with silk. So I've got 30% silk on there, so that's going to be lovely to knit and lovely to wear. So I'm looking forward to getting on a little bit further with that. And that's kind of it for works in progress. So I'm just going to stop here and check on my battery and check that the sound is recorded, and then I shall show you my final stash enhancement. Yay, we have sound! Fantastic. Okay, so stash enhancement. Probably not widely known, but last week Darren had the week off, so I took a few days off here and there. In fact, it was most of the week, I'll be honest. I originally had that week blocked out to actually travel overseas and have a proper holiday, but because of being in hospital in June, there's no way I could physically get on a plane at this moment in time. The whole being in a sort of air compressed container would not do my insides any good at this moment in time. Shame, because I could have done with lying on the beach and reading several books. I really could have. But what we did do was some fantastic local sightseeing. So I'm going to post some videos at the end of the episode just to give you a hint of some of the really beautiful weather that we enjoyed over Dartmoor. Let me show you what I bought. One of the days we went over to Tavistock, we passed through Murray Vale. We went to Two Bridges to have lunch, which is a pub hotel right in the middle, really, of Dartmoor. It's kind of the central point that, in terms of the roads, anyway. So we enjoyed a lovely lunch there, and it was really, really beautiful weather. And then we went to Murray Vale, which is a prehistoric settlement, so we looked at some of the standing stones. Very peaceful and serene, and was totally just what we needed in the sun that we had that day. So we took the opportunity, after we'd visited those places, to go to Tavistock. And of course in the market they've got a needlework shop. I completely forget the name of the shop, and I'll put that in here, and of course in the show notes as well, and if they've got a website I will link to that. There I bought the following, and I'm going to lean out of shot, sorry. I bought some fat quarters, so I've got a nice sort of turquoisey, tealy, floral ditzy, and then I bought an Amy Butler fat quarter, which is it's been rolled up, but it's a nice sort of light and bright paisley job, and I'm really loving that. I'm loving the colours, even love that little border there. These are, I bought really specifically the fat quarters last week with the idea that I would make some project bags for myself. I'm not going to do anything fancy, so please don't expect project bags and things in the shop. Certainly not from me. I might ask another indie artist if they would consider wholesaling, but I'm not about to start doing that. So I might write up a tutorial, and of course these will be basics. They're not going to be lined. The seams will be piped or folded in, but there's going to be nothing fancy about them. So they'll be basic. But to give away as a free tutorial on a blog or something is fine, because it's not hindering anybody's work. When that will get done, I have no idea, but the idea is nice. So I got those, and it was nice to sort of look around in fabric shops and things again. So I think I also picked up a couple of toggles there and some cord as well, just to finish that off. What else did I get there? I think that was it. Oh no, after having started my socks, I got myself some more sock yarn. This is Rico Design. The colour, I'm presuming the colour is Superba Mexico. It's essentially a four ply, and it should come out in that kind of fake virile look. Got 420 metres per 100 gram ball. It's 75 superwash, new wool and 25% polyamide. So it's not quite as soft as the yarn that I'm knitting, but again, for the second pair of socks, obviously I've got to recalculate my stitches, my gauge and all the rest of it to try and get a sock that fits me. So I'm anticipating that this might be ripped out a few times. So I didn't want to use anything too fancy. I wanted to use something that I didn't mind wearing as bed socks, if that's what it ends up being. So I love the colours of this, and I'm looking forward to starting work with that sometime in the future. We also went to Brixham. I really wanted to pop into Sandy's shop just to have a look, and I of course ended up buying a couple of things. So, one of the things I can't show you because it's for somebody who might possibly be watching, they might not, but certainly I can show you the rest. I wanted to have a little sort of momentum of Brixham, and so I bought this fat quarter where you've got the all the houses are, you know, really sort of jam-packed, and that reminded me of the sort of view of Brixham. And then of course you've got the lighthouse as well, so that was very Brixham inspired, and that will be my memento project bag. And then I bought a fat quarter of sort of Christmas fabric. This has got little robins and letters to Santa. The idea behind this is both myself and Darren have a Christmas stocking, but I want to make a stocking for Poppy. It's just a little bit of silliness really, but that's what Christmas is all about, isn't it? You've got to be silly at Christmas. So I'm looking forward to that, and of course filming it. Again, it will just be a basic sewing job. It shouldn't be anything too fancy, I don't think. I also bought some bias bindings, so if I don't decide to do anything fancy with the corners, then I'll just bind it off and just probably do a pocket shape. I bought this back at the Torquay Embroiderers Guild. Again, it's from Sandy, which is partly why I went in, because I wanted to get some wadding and that kind of stuff to sort of finish it off. And this is an advent calendar, a quilted advent calendar. Her prices are really fantastic. It's also got instructions somewhere, yeah, instructions. So it sort of tells you how to put it together, and you've got all of the little boxes down the end there, so you can actually turn these numbered areas on the calendar into little pockets. This will be quilted. Again, I'm not going to do anything too fancy, it's just really just a bit of fun for me and Darren really. And we decided, rather than putting sweets in it, what we would do is we would put little things that we, you know, spent a very minimal amount on, or that we made. So you know, it could be a love letter, it could be an IOU for a day out in the future, it could be you know, he might pop down to one of the button shops in Exeter and grab me a button for something. Because technically I got that ball of yarn for free, I might also be tempted to put the pair of socks. I won't be able to put them in there, but I can put the little message for the socks in there. So I got those. Really excited, feeling Christmassy, feeling autumny, feeling very pleased with myself. We also, when we took a walk around Brixham, there were quite a few you know, little shops with selling little bits and pieces. As we went further around to walk out onto the pier, there was one shop there called Doris, or the line is called Doris. Let's have a look. Yeah, Doris by Karen Miller, and again I will link to her in the show notes. And she is an artist who works with driftwood, glass materials and seashells, but the higher end seashells. She also sells seashells for decorations and things. Darren has a fascination with little sort of wooden boats, and we've always wanted to have them, have lots of wooden boats on the windowsill in our bathroom, because fortunately we've got a fairly wide shelf. We're able to do that. I thought it would be quite nice to make a mobile that's off to the side of that encompasses seashells and pretty things that I like, that would work again in this theme. So I picked up some shells. So this is a snail shell. I think this, I can't remember what it was called, but it's got some green dye on it, which is quite nice. So that would be like a centrepiece. Just going to wrap that back up. I don't want to get them broken. Needless to say, I did spend quite an amount of money on these. I also bought some plainer shells, which are just in the white as well. If I turn that round, you can see them a bit better. They're going to be quite sort of pearly and catch the light as well, which would be really nice. I got some shells with some texture as well, because I'm all about the texture. So these will be quite nice to offset against those very sleek lines of the other shells. And then I couldn't resist these. These are green oyster shells. Now I don't know whether these are naturally green or whether they're dyed. Actually, if I show you that, I don't know whether you can see it, but you can see where there used to be sort of barnacles and stuff, which is quite cool. And of course they're sort of really pearlescent on the inside, so I got those, so that will be a project for the future which I will show you. And then the last place I visited, actually went with my mum, my mother-in-law and my sister, and we went to West Point to have a look at the stitching and knitting show, I want to say. There were quite a few things we saw there which were really nice. I didn't pick up a huge amount of stuff, just purely because I'd been stashing bits and pieces throughout the week, so I thought I'd better keep those pennies for, Christmas is coming up, we've got, presents to buy and all that kind of stuff. So I have had an idea this year to make my own wrapping paper. I could go out and buy normal standard wrapping paper, and I don't have a problem with normal standard wrapping paper at all. I just wanted to do something a little bit different. Last year I was able to hand make a vast quantity of the presents that we gave, and I didn't do it because it would save money or anything like that, because actually I sort of I probably went actually a bit overboard, but I'm not able to do that this year. One thing and another, I just don't feel I could cope with having lots of deadlines this short time before Christmas, and of course I would have started long before now if I was going to do a lot. So I said to Darren, what about doing some paper, and we could sit down and we could spend an afternoon doing it together and come up with a few ideas. I could chain crochet ribbons to go around the packages, and then maybe we could print onto paper. It could be normal brown paper, or it could be, maybe I'll get a roll of white paper from somewhere. I'm not sure, we're kind of still thinking about it, but I wanted to get a printing block so that we've got something that we can draw all of the packages together, so that even if we do something slightly different on each individual one, they'll be drawn together in a sort of central theme, if you like. So I managed to get this at the show, this beautiful little angel, and this is by, or being sold through, Jamie Molden's website called Colourlicious. That's colourlicious.com. She does creative DVDs, printing workshops, printing blocks, and other inspirational bits and pieces. She was on hand with lots of ideas of different paints and fabrics that you could use this onto, and I chatted to her for a little bit about the paper and maybe the idea of incorporating foil and so on. So that was fantastic, and really useful to meet somebody who is creative and inspired by what she does. That always helps if you're really enthusiastic about your project, about your product. I think that helps, and it really speaks volumes. So I was really pleased to meet her, so definitely recommend her website. I think that is pretty much it for today. As I said, I'm probably going to splice in a couple of photos and a short bit of video just to give you a little bit of an idea about what I did last week on our week off. And then I think that's it. I just need to go do some carding and some production now and pack up some orders, otherwise I'm not going to finish today. Okay, so I hope you've had a really fantastic month, and please get in touch if you need anything or if you just want to chat. You can find me, or you can find the show notes at dreamingandfibre.blogspot.com. You can find me, Sarah, at sarastexturecrafts.com. You can find me on Ravelry as well, so just give me a shout if you need anything. And I hope to see you again soon with lots of new ideas and exciting projects on the needles and so forth. Okay, I'll catch you later, guys. Cheers! Hiya, it's a sunny day up here on Dartmoor, and just thought I would show you what everything looks like. Oh look, there's a pony up here. Ponies, yay!
Is he having a sleep? Yeah, he's just having a sleep.
There's lots of ponies around today. Sometimes they're hard to spot, but they're all around today.
They also knew we were coming.
Yeah. Someone's very excited, aren't you, Patch? Eh? Excited about being on Dartmoor? Yeah, me too. So we're just generally off for the day. We're going to go and have some fun up on Dartmoor. But I thought I'd just give you a flavour of the end of September on Dartmoor and the changing colours. Some sheep. Hello! Might get lucky over the hill, we might see some more ponies.
It's also the way like last time.
Yeah, last time when we come up here they were
Skittish.
yeah, very skittish and running around all over the place, weren't they?
Yeah.
You can see it's the colours are starting to change.
It's nice to have the sun.
Less green. But yes, it's a lovely day for walking. We're going to walk Patch up across the moor. Fearless explorer.
What? You're tracking me in.